This video is about the beginner boost. Everybody say hi who's in the chat. What is the beginner boost? We're going to go through the overview of the beginner boost right now. So this is the one video you need to watch if you want to know what it is, how it works, how to participate, all that stuff. And we're going to cram it all, hopefully in under 10 minutes. So you can always go back and read about it. But if you want a really quick, fast summary of what this is about, this is the video. This is the entry level video. And we're going to start by going to skillstak.io/boost, skilstak.io. And from here, you can see the breakdown of the schedule, which I've talked about in other videos. For the first time ever, we are going to have this rotating topical thing: job, web, Linux, bash, how to code, learning C so you understand your computer, learning Go, and LXC. The boost came about from SKILSTAK. And let me just talk about this really briefly. There are videos on the history of SKILSTAK, etc. There's Instagram and Twitter and everything. So SKILSTAK, once upon a time in 2013, I started a company because nobody was teaching coding, particularly to 9 to 19-year-olds. And so I organized a company and did that for many, many years. It doesn't take much to get me to talk about it, so I'm not going to talk about it now. Many things happened that made it so I couldn't do it anymore, including COVID. And my stepson said, you should stream that. And so I started streaming it. And that's what this is. This is a beginner boost. So for the last 4 years, we have been going through the same material, more or less, and updating it every year. Although we never really quite complete, which is hopefully we can finally complete for 1 year. Because the beginner boost, and traditionally in the past, the content that I was doing was designed for one person and one person only. And so I was one-on-one mentoring with them. And so I struggle and continue to struggle with how to do one-on-one mentoring with you. Because you're watching this and I don't know you necessarily. There's a lot of people in the chat. So that has been the focus of the struggle. So the beginner boost is for people who want to get a tech job. And that is the most important thing for you to take away from this video. If you are looking for a tech job, or you're looking to upskill your tech job, or maybe you're afraid you have some gaps in what I believe are the fundamentals of having any tech job, that's what that's here for you, right? And so we can go through and we can see the breakdown. We're going to start this year for the first time with a start in career to tech. Then we're going to learn the basics of HTML and CSS. We're going to talk about getting Linux. Linux is the operating system that the internet and everything else is pretty much running on. It's very important that you learn that. We're going to do the bash command line and talk about why command line and terminal skills, joining the terminal master race, as we kind of joke, is really, really critical, even if you don't think you need it. Learning how to code in both Python and JavaScript at the same time. Now, why would I have you learn to program in 2 languages at the same time? The reason for this is because you can see the similarities in the semantics of the language represented in 2 interpreted languages, which are very easy to learn. Python and JavaScript are regularly recommended to people as their first languages that they should learn, period. And we'll talk about why those languages are relevant in other videos when we get to that point. Learn C for understanding. Again, C is critical to understanding how computers work. So we're going to do that over Christmas. Again, some of this stuff you could probably skip. You can skip the entire module if you don't want to do it. Develop enterprise software in Go. We're going to spend a lot of time in developing in Go because it is the hottest language for getting a job. We're not going to fight about that. That's just the way it is. And containers. What are containers and why do you need them? If you've heard of Docker or Podman, you know about that. The LXC stuff, the container stuff, is the stuff that 2 years ago I started. Everybody had a container, and we used containers as the first thing that we learned, and we did Linux in the container. And we're not going to do that. We're going to save that to the end, and we're going to use a virtual machine instead, which is exactly what it sounds like, a virtual machine that runs inside of your computer instead of it being a separate computer. It's important that I mention the boost is not a course. There's no certificates. There's nothing you're going to get out of this except for knowledge. One of the fundamental principles of this is that you're starting to think like a hacker and you're taking control of your own learning. There will be a video about that, about autodidactic learning and I'll recommend a number of things you can go look. We always dedicate the boost to Aaron Schwartz, who's probably the most quintessential autodidact I've ever known about, and we'll talk about what that means. If any of these careers interested you, these are the careers that were used to decide what content goes into the boost. And any content that gets put into the boost is supposed to be relevant to every one of these careers. And if it's not, it doesn't make it in. So, for example, you won't see Photoshop here, for example, right? You probably good to know it, but it's not here, right? Because it doesn't apply to everything. It might apply to web developer, but not the rest. I did a whole video about the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, and this is how to find out what you want to learn. That is there. Skills. There's a separate video on that, so go watch that video. How shall I know what to learn? By the way, this stuff is all linked. This hasn't been committed yet, but I'm going to go ahead and show it to you anyway. If you go to this is how. So this is the Start Career in Tech. This is not shown up on the website yet, but so the job section. This is how it's going to be. You're going to have individual videos for each of these main bullet points, and then as we go through, we'll just keep adding videos to it. And that reminds me of something called the Flipped Classroom. I made a whole video about We Are Flipped. You can go watch that. What does a flipped classroom means? But in a short, mouthful, it means that there's going to be video and content that's expected for you to digest before Sunday rolls around. And that does bring me to the schedule. So let's jump to the schedule. So right now, the schedule is that we'll do this kind of thing on Sunday afternoon, sometime around 10 and 2, but not necessarily. We might, because obviously there's lots of things going on the schedule. This schedule is maintained, you can do !Cal in Twitch. You can get it any time. Or you can come in and you can follow this. You can see any of the stuff that I'm doing. This is my calendar for those activities. So that'll help you decide, when you can attend and when you can't attend. Something that's new this year is that I am not going to do 4-hour long sessions, and I've already had a lot of people thank me for that. Some people are a little annoyed that I'm like blasting a ton of little videos out right now, but that is what we're doing instead, is we're putting out a bunch of little videos that are topical and expecting you to watch those and digest them and comment on them or whatever, so that when we get together for that hour or so on Sunday, in addition to other times during, I don't know if you saw, but there's a bunch of other coffee boost times every day. So if you can make, and sometimes I'm on the bike, you can talk to me about stuff when I'm on the bike. The point is that we're trying to cater to people that are from all sorts of different backgrounds, that have different types of schedules. They can't always be here at the same time. And that means that if you can drop in and you have a question, ask us in the Boost Live, and we'll do it on Twitch. We'll talk about it. If you can't, ask in the Discord. You can go in there. And then we'll try to have at least an hour or so every Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning to kind of bring people together and have that sort of sense of community. However, we absolutely understand that this isn't going to work for everybody's schedule. So that's why this year we're doing all of the videos and the whole flipped classroom idea. So there's going to be a ton of videos. And next year I'll reuse the same videos, and I'll only change the videos that need to be updated. The skills format. So the skills format is how we title things, how I'm titling things. This just means that everything starts with a verb. Generally, these are going to match the sort of thing you put in a resume. Become familiar with career opportunities in the tech industry. Sort of a recipe, skills-based way of saying it. It is worth noting. It is worth noting that the YouTube videos that go with these are deliberately named with very fun clickbaity titles. And if you want the happier title, the title that is more professional, we'll say, check out the SKILSTAK.io site, and you'll see the happier versions of it. But the YouTube videos are pretty clickbaity. We'll be talking about the skills, knowledge, and abilities that you need to do to get the job. Can he get the job, but can he do the job? I know he can get the job, but can he do the job? And here's a good example. This is how we come up with the skills, right? Each task lists the ability, the dependencies, give the knowledge required, breakdown. So this gives you a sense of how we come up with the knowledge. It's definitely Linux focused, as I mentioned. Everything is Linux these days. Most people already know how to use a Mac or Windows. It's kind of expected that you know that. You need to learn how to use Linux. So many people don't know how to use Linux. It's super important that you understand how to use Linux from the command line. Linux from the command line is the thing that's going to get you a job. Linux on the desktop and fighting about what desktop distro is the best is completely useless. There's so much time wasted on the internet fighting about that stupid topic. If you want a job, you got to know command line Linux, period. And primarily Ubuntu and Red Hat. There are many other Linux distros, obviously. If you are focused like we try to be on getting a job, it's really important that you learn what jobs need, what they want, what Linux distributions they use, what do they go to, and that is what we focus on. I have no, problem with people using other versions of Linux as hobbyists, but if you want a job, I'm not making the rules. I'm just telling you, what people are hiring for. Linux learning never ends. This is one of the coolest things about Linux is that you're always learning something else, something new. And it's actually one of the greatest excitements. When people first discover Linux, there was one guy actually, a quick little story. I remember mentoring a guy, and he learned how to install Linux onto his laptop, and he tried 6 or 7 different Linux distros before the next week mentoring session. And he was so obsessed. He was like, oh, he ended up landing on SUSE of all things. And Mandrake Linux was actually one of my first Linux distributions that I used myself. So it's really fun to watch, and I'm looking forward to seeing you experience the freedom of controlling your operating system and deciding what goes on your hardware. It's absolutely fantastic if you've never felt that level of freedom before, and I'm super excited that you'll be able to have that. Whether that freedom is what distro you want to run, or how you want it, what desktop manager you want to use, or any number of things that you can build and tweak that you normally couldn't do in Windows or Mac. So even though Mac is Unix, Mac is the largest Unix distribution in the world. A lot of people don't know that. And what's the difference between Unix and Linux? We're going to talk all of that. We'll talk about all that. The last thing I have to talk about here is not very fun, but it's very important. This content that I'm making is legally protected. So the reason that I am copywriting this content and I am releasing it only under non-compete, I'm sorry, what is it? Buy and exceed NDA. I forget which one. Oh, no derivatives. That means you can't take the content that I made. I'm just gonna explain it to you without the legalese. The reason that I have this is because I don't want people to quote me out of context. I don't want people to take the content that I have that is old and reproduce it so I can't control it. One of the biggest problems on the internet is you can't take back stuff that you've said. And when you're talking about technology, particularly in learning technology and trends and stuff like that, this stuff is changing all the time. So I might seem like I'm being a little bit controlling by saying I don't want you to make derivatives of what I make. That includes this video, that includes the site, or any of these things, right? Derivatives meaning you can make an exact copy of it. I mean, that's fine. The website's under, you can make an exact copy of it, but you can't change anything. And you can't make a version that is an archive of it, or you can't reorganize it, or you can't, run it through an AI thing. All of those things are illegal. And if you do them, I will do my best to make sure that you get a cease and desist. The reason for that is not because I'm a dick. It's because I want control of how this stuff is put out there. And it is very easy. I don't need to tell you this, to put out bad content that gets outdated really fast. And the more that I control the distribution of the content, the more I'm able to make sure that you get the latest, best content, rather than trying to, pull back in all of the stuff that's out there that's completely out of date. right? And this is actually a big problem. Go, for example, go search for the replace directive in Go programming right now, right? There's a ton of stuff that's out there for your replace directive. Well, Stack Exchange is a perfect example. I'm dwelling on this point way too long, but I feel like I need to, because people see it and they're like, that's not very open. I'm like, no, I believe in openness. I just don't want to have to do the work of, you know, saying, hey, that video, if there's a bad video that I've made because it's no longer relevant, I'm going to delete it. Can't do that if there's like a dozen copies of it with people ripping on it and everything. I think it's one of the biggest problems of content that's produced on the internet, period. SKILSTAK is, of course, a trademark. SKILSTAK Beginner Boost is a trademark. You cannot use these things without my permission. That's all. And I mean, I'm happy to let you use them. Just let me know you're going to use them. That's it. That's hopefully that'll get you going on the Beginner Boost. People ask all the time, and I'll end with this: can I start at any time? And the answer is yes. You can jump in, and in 2024, this year should be one of the better years that you can jump in. Another question I get all the time is, should I do the other years? And the answer very simply is no. This content is changing all the time. Tech is changing all the time. And I personally think it's best for you to use the latest content. If you can, there's nothing wrong with you going out and looking at the other videos, but there's going to be stuff in there, unfortunately, that is really out of date. And rather than deleting it all, you know, we're not going to. And by the way, the new way of like recording individual topical videos is going to make it easier for me to keep the total body of content up to date, so that the stuff that's on YouTube, I have videos on YouTube that are way out of date. Some that are even promoting WSL2, which I hate, by the way, now. So this idea of like keeping these videos and linking them together in sort of an outline form on skillstack.io is going to allow me to identify the videos and the content that is out of date, and I can start to delete it, which I have been wanting to do for some time, and I haven't even been able to do it before because it was, you know, people were still finding value in some of the stuff that was produced 3 years ago, and I couldn't delete the whole video. There might be, you know, 50% of the video might have been bad, where the other 50% was still very valuable. So do you delete the video or not? And I've been defaulting to leaving the video out there. I know it's a lot of detail, but we're hopefully going to address that issue this time by having topical videos that can be deleted immediately. So if that topic changes or that direction changes or the industry has changed, we delete the video and we move on. And you only, at that point, hopefully by 2025 and beyond, the video produced for the Beginner Boost every year will only be one set of videos, and there will only be one sort of body of Beginner Boost content, and you'll be able to reliably know that the Beginner Boost content is always the latest, so that I can maintain, almost like maintaining, you know, the most recent version of a book without having to throw away the other book. That'll actually also allow me to go through, God help me, and clean up my YouTube from all the old stuff that's out there. Will I do that? Yes, it's always going to be like a tertiary priority, so I probably won't do it very soon. But hopefully that gives you some sense of where we're going with this. I suppose, I mean, as a proper YouTuber, I should answer one last question here. How do you participate and contribute? And the biggest thing you can, okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is what you can do if you don't have any money, and many of you don't. If you don't have any money, the best way you can contribute is, if some way has helped you, please leave me a nice comment in the Discord, through the chat, through Twitch, whatever you want to do. Leave me a nice comment, and if I've actually helped you in some way, or if our community in any way has helped you, please leave us a nice comment, and I'll put it in there. That's the biggest payback that you can give me that does not involve money. The second way you can participate is you can make clips of Twitch videos. You can go in there, you can make pretty clips, and then that helps me to promote what's going on, stuff that's valuable. So that's one way. Third way is to answer questions in the Discord. When you do answer questions in the Discord, please make sure that you're answering as best you can the way I would answer them. And then if you disagree with me, you can state, this is what Rob thinks, but I also think this. If you're going to directly contradict me in my own forum constantly, you're probably going to get banned. It's just too problematic to have people challenging every position. I love people who challenge what I say and do. I just want to make sure that the newbies who see that know what my position is before they consider your position if it's different than mine. And I have no problem with that. But just make sure that my position is represented in my forum. Otherwise, make your own forum. and, and then, of course, there's the money thing. The best way to sponsor me is on GitHub. Once you have a GitHub account, you can go through GitHub sponsors and sponsoring. These are the people that I'm sponsoring. You can find me here and sponsor me on GitHub. And you can fund my work here. I get the largest percentage out of GitHub. Of course, you can donate through Twitch or through YouTube. And if those are, but the main way to donate is through here. So subscriptions on Twitch are always fun. Bits on Twitch are fun. I don't get a very high percentage of that, but that's still a fun way to do it. Some people are really fond of subscribing me to completely random trolling accounts, and that's fine with me too. It's whatever. It's however you want to help out. I'm not asking you. I'm not begging you for money. I have a full-time job. I believe that this kind of thing is best done by somebody who has a job, who can inform the conversations about what we do using that job. And that's where we are. That's what we're doing. So that is it. That's it for this video. And hopefully that's been a good overview. I'll be repeating a lot of the same stuff on May the 4th, but this will be the video that I refer to that people can go back to. So thank you. Happy to, if you want to leave comments and then go in the Discord, you know how to do it.